Jai Krishna. We are here at the Samadhi of Srila Jiva Goswami. According to the records of his last will and testament, Srila Jiva Goswami entered Samadhi in the year 1608 at Sri Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan, where his sacred body was entombed. According to Srila Gaur Ganodesha Deepika, he was Vilasa Manjari in Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. Srila Jiva Goswami was the youngest of the 6 Goswamis, having been born in 1513, and was also the nephew of the brothers Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. Being the son of their younger brother Shri Vallabha, also who was known as Anupama, he died just after Jiva's birth. With his father already dead, the sudden demise of his mother prompted Jiva Goswami to renounce the world, and in 1535 he arrived in Vrindavan to join his 2 uncles in propagating the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom he had met in his childhood. Having been personally advised by Lord Nityananda, Jiva had studied Vedanta philosophy as well as Sanskrit grammar under the renowned scholar Madhusudan Vachaspati in Banaras, and Jiva's reputation as a brilliant student had been growing day by day. On arrival in Vrindavan, he took shelter under Sri Rupa Goswami, who accepted him as his disciple and trained him in all the finer points of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. With the help of both Rupa and Sanatan, Jiva became known as the greatest Vedic philosopher in Indian history. He is simultaneously credited to have been the foremost Sanskrit scholar that has ever lived. He was also the most prolific writer amongst the Gaudiya Goswamis of Vrindavan, having produced over 25 important books, including the celebrated Shata Sandarbha and Gopal Champu. He also composed his own Sanskrit grammar known as Harinama Vyakaran. Even today, there is a department dedicated to the study of Srila Jiva Goswami's work at Srila Banaras Hindu University. Srila Jiva Goswami was such a brilliant scholar that it was difficult for him to restrain his youthful enthusiasm when confronted by those who wanted to present themselves as a very learned scholars. On one occasion, he was actually banished from Vrindavan by his spiritual master Srila Rupa Goswami when he took to the task to chastise the famous scholar Vallabha Bhatta. After hearing what he thought was Bhatta's unwarranted critique of Rupa's perfect invocation to Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, the most humble Rupa was so embarrassed by his nephew's direct challenge and grammatical demolition of the senior Bhatta, he asked him to leave his association until he could develop what Rupa considered to be proper Vaishnava humility. On one occasion, some years later, a famous all-conquering Digvijay scholar from Kashmir arrived in Vrindavan, wanting to debate and highly renowned Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Having travelled the length and breadth of India, defeating everyone, his ambition was to cover himself in the glory of India's greatest living scholar by defeating Rupa and Sanatan, the famous Goswamis of Vrindavan. The Digvijay Pandit began pestering both Rupa and Sanatan to engage in a debate, but the Goswamis had no time for such activities, as they were fully occupied with their own writing. Ultimately, just to get rid of Digvijay, they agreed to sign the Patra, affidavit, signifying their defeat at the hands of the Pandita. If that will satisfy him, and he will stop pestering them and go away. Having got the victory Patras from Rupa and Sanatan, the Kashmir Pandit's attention then fell on Jiva, who everyone said was even greater scholar than his 2 uncles. Puffed up by his own false prestige and cheap success over the 2 Goswamis, he approached Jiva to challenge him. When Jiva saw the 2 Patras signed by his uncles, he became filled with indignation after realizing the circumstances surrounding his uncle's so-called defeat by the worthless Kashmiri Pandit. Jiva Goswami immediately engaged in a furious debate with the Digvijay that is said to have lasted a full 7 days, culminating in the utter defeat and humiliation of the so-called Digvijay Pandit. Jiva immediately took back the patras signed by his uncles and destroyed them, while the so-called Digvijay Pandit bet a hasty retreat from Vrindavan, never to be seen again. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth had also confronted a famous Digvijay Pandit from Kashmir named Keshava and soundly defeated him by his superior knowledge of Sanskrit grammar. In those days, Mahaprabhu was a renowned scholar in his own right and was known locally as Nimai Pandit. The Brahmana Pandits from Navadvip were famous for their learning, especially in the various branches of Sanskrit grammar or Vyakarana like Panini, Kalapa and Kaumudi. Nimai Pandit was a teacher of Kalpa Vyakarana. The Brahmana Panditas from Kashmir were undoubtedly superior to most other Panditas in India at that time due to their vast knowledge of the Vedas, and they have travelled widely, defeating all those who came before them. The word Digvijay means one who is victorious in all the directions. According to Puranas, Kashmir is a part of Bhoma Swarga or the heavenly realm situated on the earthly plane and is considered to be the original birthplace of all Brahmanas. Jiva Goswami's fame as the greatest scholar spread so far and wide that even the Mughal Emperor Akbar desired to meet him. In 1570, Vraja Maṇḍala, the king of Jaipur, himself a disciple of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, brought Akbar to meet Jiva at the Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan. And the emperor was so impressed with Jiva Goswami that he provided funds to build a small library where the works of Jiva and other Goswamis would be safely kept. Emperor Akbar, who was a pious and devoted follower of Islam, also granted permission for Raja Maṇḍala to begin construction on a number of large temples including Madan Mohan, Govindji and Gopinathji. Akbar also agreed to donate high quality red sandstone for the construction of Goswami temples that was till then reserved only for the use on Mughal forts and palaces. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.